Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl were the games that fully got me back into Pokemon. I set my Switch back up, I went out and bought an Elgato capture card, and I knew I wanted to stream this game. But I didn't want to just play through it normally. I wanted to Nuzlocke it. Now, my Nuzlocke rules, since I've never actually completed one, were going to be a bit more simple. I can only catch the first Pokemon on each route. If my Pokemon died, they were dead, I couldn't use them anymore, and I had to name them all. I also gave myself a few more challenges where I wanted to try and play on set mode, because Switch mode is a little bit too easy, and I decided to really try not to use items in battle, but I broke that rule a few times. Alright, it's my first time, okay? Leave me alone, okay? I'm not perfect. I've also decided to not allow myself to overlevel past the next gym leader's ace, because I have never done that before, so it might be quite interesting. Anyway, enough of that stuff. Subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it. This adventure starts like any other, choosing your starter. Now, I let my chat decide, and they chose Turtwig for me, but I personally would have probably chose Chimchar. But whatever. We named it Soren, who was the member of the chat at the time, and in fact, all of these Pokemon, bar a few, are named after people who are in my Twitch chat. So, if you're interested in being part of this type of video in the future, go and check out my Twitch. We then make it to Sandgem Town to talk to Professor Rowan. We also go and talk to our mother and tell her we're leaving, which she actually took quite well. And then we get taught how to catch a Pokemon, and we're given our own Pokeballs, which means this run has officially started. And with that, we can go back and catch some Pokemon. We managed to catch a Bidoof on Route 201, a Starly at Lake Verity, and a Shinx on Route 202. Pretty much the best encounters we can get at this point, as far as I'm concerned, because the only other Pokemon really is Kricketot. After that, we make it to Jubilife to pick up the Old Rod, which we use straight away to catch a Magikarp on Route 218. This would have been a lot better if I went back to Twinleaf Town to catch this, so I could then get another encounter on this route later in the game, but it really doesn't matter that much. I'm not quite at the level where I need to maximize every single encounter I ever have in this game. We also then go north of Jubilife to catch a Budu, which is going to be super important in the future. And after fighting my rival and absolutely wiping the floor with him, we catch an Abra on the route that we fought him on. We also catch a Zubat in Oreburg Gate and a Machop on the route above Oreburg, which is going to be super good for the gym we're about to face. And I thought we'd get a Geodude in the mines, but we managed to find an Onix instead, which is actually quite cool. We're not going to use it, but it's quite cool. After a little bit of training, it was finally time to take on the first gym leader, Rourke. He leads with a Geodude, and we lead with Traveling, our Machop, and we hit him with a low sweep as Geodude only goes for a defense curl. And that means one more low sweep takes him out on the turn after. Rourke then sends in Onix, which we take down with a few low kicks after he sets up Stealth Rocks and heals Onix once. So finally, that means the Cranidos comes out next. But he only goes for Leer, and we go for a low sweep, which actually takes him out of one hit to win us our first ever gym badge. Now that we've got our first gym badge, it was time for us to advance to the most notorious run ender in this game, the Mars fight in the Valley Windworks. And that stupid cat that for some reason does not want to die. So we lead Shinx to take out her Zubat, but they outspeed us and use Supersonic to confuse us, and we hit ourselves in confusion, which absolutely sucks. Zubat then uses U-turn to bring out the Purugly, which we then hit with a Thunder Shock that was meant for the Zubat. Shinx takes a bit too much damage here, so we swap out to Machop, who uses Low Kick and does a good amount of damage, and we get hit hard with a Scratch, but finish the Purugly off with another Low Sweep. I was genuinely a little bit concerned we were going to lose Traveling there, but we did get lucky and we managed to keep him alive. So once the Zubat comes back out, we swap to Staravia to take it out, since Kozak, our Shinx, was a little bit too low for that fight. I am kind of surprised we got through that deathless, but either way, I'm very happy about it. On our way to Eterna Forest, we catch a Shellos, and Scout, our Abra, evolves into a Kadabra. So now it's finally going to be of some use to us, which, you know, is going to be nice. Having another Pokemon on the team that can actually do damage, pretty good. Not only that, but our Turtwig also evolves into a Grottle, which is a Pokemon I actually really like. Probably a lot of nostalgia is based on that decision, but I do really like him. Now, we didn't struggle with any trainer fight on that whole route or any of the fights in Eterna Forest either, as we took most of them as single battles rather than as a double battle. It just makes them all a lot more manageable and a lot less dangerous. This is my first Nuzlocke. I want to win first time. Our encounter there, though, was a Silcoon, which might have been okay if we found it a bit earlier, but I didn't really want to replace anyone on the team right now with a Beautifly, so we boxed it. We make it to Eterna City and straight away run to the right of the city to get another encounter, which just so happens to be a Ponyta. Little did I know just how important this Pokemon was going to become in about 5 minutes. After catching Ponyta, I go and talk to the old man who gives us the Explorer's Kit, and I wanted to explore the brand new Grand Underground, and I had said that every time we beat a gym badge, we get a new encounter down there. So because we already had our first gym badge, we can go and catch a Pokemon. Which is when I found a Scyther, and then this happened. Yeah, no. Oh! Please just keep using double team. Please just keep using double team. No! Don't use wing attack. Okay. You're not going to be able to hit it. Come on. Wow, that was fast. Don't use it. Don't use it. Ah. No! What do you mean I couldn't get away? No. No! We lost Kozak too. Let me just run away, man. Oh my god, that was so dumb. We lost both our Staravia and our Luxio trying to catch this thing. We didn't even end up getting it in the end. I had to run away, but we lost one of the Pokemon we were planning on using throughout the entire next gym right before we decided to take it on. Oh my god, this sucks. At this point, I genuinely, I don't know, I was feeling a lot of things. But luckily, we had just caught a Ponyta, so that should be the key to get us through the next gym. And we also had Scout the Kadabra, who will be good against Roserade. So I decided that not all hope was lost and decided to push on anyway. While we were getting the team ready for the next gym, we managed to evolve Magikarp into a Gyarados. So that's pretty good. And then it was finally time to take on Gardenia. Gardenia leads with a Cherubi, and we lead with our Ponyta named Ed. But Ed's a girl. It's 2022, alright? We use Flame Charge, which manages to one-hit kill the Cherubi, and next in comes Turtwig. We do the same thing again, which doesn't quite kill, but after Turtwig sets up a Reflect, we actually swap Scout in next as Gardenia heals. We use Psycho Cut, which doesn't really do much damage, and I have to swap out again, this time into Grottle as Turtwig uses a workup, and we have to hope that Grottle can take this thing out. After a while, we managed to finally take the Turtwig out with a few bites, as it only knows Grass Knot to use against us. This would be good, but the plan was to try and take out the Roserade with Kadabra, which can't happen now because Kadabra's taken too much damage. Roserade uses Grass Knot, and we hit her quite hard with a bite. We then swap into Ed the Ponyta on a Grass Knot, which hits a little bit harder than I wanted it to, but we survive another one and hit Roserade with a Flame Charge. Now, luckily, this manages to take the Roserade out, meaning that if I didn't try and overcomplicate things and sending Kadabra there, we could have soloed the whole gym, and I did that for no reason. Well, hopefully I won't make that mistake again. We don't really get a break though, because after that we have the Jupiter fight. Now, just like Mars, she leads Zubat, and we lead Ed, our Ponyta. We hit the Zubat with a Flame Charge, which does a good amount of damage, but then we get hit with a Confuse Ray. Wanted to swap to get rid of the confusion. I saw that my Gyarados had learned Waterfall at some point, and I completely missed it, so I swapped him in. We hit the Waterfall to take out the Zubat, and in comes Skuntank, who we hit with another Waterfall after tanking a Snarl, and we take away half of the Skuntank's HP. Now, unfortunately, they do eat their berry here as we hit them again to take them down to a third after realizing that I can easily take another 2 Snarls. This means that the next Waterfall takes the Skuntank out. Aftermath does a bit more damage than I would have liked it to, but we survive and we can finally move on. Not much really happens between beating Jupiter and getting all the way over to Veilstone City. Like, we don't lose any team members, there's no close calls, so I'm going to cut it out. But we do have to be really careful here because the level cap of Maylene and the level cap of Crash Awake are exactly the same. So we need to go into one of these gym fights slightly underleveled, which makes one of the fights a very difficult one. I decided to take on Maylene first just because we were already in Veilstone and we may as well, but I decided to box Soren, my Grottle, so it didn't get overleveled and we can use it and it could be our savior basically for Crash Awake. Maylene leads with a Meditite and I lead with Scout, my Kadabra, and I use Psychic, which manages to one-shot the Meditite, which is absolutely amazing. Maylene then sends out Machoke, who suffers the same fate going down to just one Psychic, And that leads us with the only real threat on Maylene's team, Lucario. We use Psychic on Lucario, which takes it down to the red when we get hit really hard with a Metal Claw. Knowing Maylene is going to heal here, I attack again, taking them down to just above red HP, and knowing we're somehow faster than the Lucario, we can hit them again with another Psychic to take them down before they could do anything about it. Another gym where one of my Pokemon could solo the entire thing. Absolutely insane. Although if we didn't have Kadabra there, I'm not sure what we would have done. The next time I streamed, my face reappeared and we ran straight over to Wake's gym. Somewhere along the way, our Golbat evolved into a Crobat, which was really nice. The only time I'd ever actually used one. So this is a whole Nuzlocke of first times, I guess. I don't know why I said it like that. There's nothing stopping us from taking out Crash Awake right now, so we just go straight into it. He leads with a Gyarados, and funnily enough, so do we. Except ours knows Thunderbolt. So we use that after being hit with a weak Crunch, and we take it down to about a third. After one more exchange, we manage to take out the Gyarados, which means next is Quagsire. Now, we can't hit Quagsire with a Thunderbolt, so we try an Ice Beam, which doesn't do much damage, but we manage to get the freeze, which is absolutely insane. Which means we can attack Quagsire a few more times before he uses Scald to break out of the ice, and then gets healed. So the freeze wasn't the most useful thing, but we've burned a potion now. I swap into Grotto to avoid getting below half HP on Gyarados, and we take out the Quagsire with a Razor Leaf. Now, because Floatzel has Ice Fang, I really don't want to keep Grotto in here, so I decide to swap in Gyarados, who gets hit with the Ice Fang meant for Grotto. This takes us below half, and he uses Bite, and we hit him with a strong Thunderbolt, but he doesn't quite go down, and he eats a berry. Now, I didn't see how much damage Bite did after I swapped back into Gyarados, so I started panicking here. I really did not want to lose this Pokemon. So I swap back into Grottle here, and he gets hit with a Brine, which was meant for Gyarados, which means that Floatzel was going for the move I was worried about. Knowing the Ice Fang was coming though, I can't stay in here, so I send back in Gyarados, and then I do something I am not super proud of. I heal. I know I said at the start I try not to use healing items in any battle, but I do here. I heal Gyarados up and take out the Floatzel with another Thunderbolt. This is like one of 2 different times in this whole run that I heal like this, so don't get too mad. It's my first Nuzlocke, okay? At some point along the way, I evolved Kadabra and Machoke into an Alakazam and a Machamp, which is really cool. Another 2 Pokemon that I really haven't used before, so that's quite nice. And also, Grottle evolves into a Torterra, which, you know, again, another Pokemon I really, really like. After that, we make our way up to Celestic Town after Cynthia asks us to go. I'm not sure why she can't do it herself, but whatever, I guess I'll do it. Fine, I don't care. And then it was time to take out the next gym leader, pretty much. I take some time to train up a little bit before we take her on, and I also grabbed the black glasses from Celestic Town, which boosts the power of dark type moves, which is going to be super useful here. Fantina leads Drifblim, and I lead Gyarados, who is wearing the black glasses, and we get outspeed and hit with a Hex. I decide to Dragon Dance here, and we then outspeed to hit with a Crunch to take out the Drifblim in one hit. She then sends out Gengar, who outspeeds and hits a Confuse Ray, but Gyarados is a tank and attacks the Gengar and takes it out anyway, even through the confusion. And finally, we are up against Miss Magius, who can be quite scary. Even though we're still confused, I do go for it again. We take a Dazzling Gleam and attack through the confusion again to take out Fantina. Again, with only 1 Pokemon. It's at this point I realized I completely skipped over telling you about one of my other rival fights, but nothing really happened, and I only remembered that because we were about to take on our rival again now that we've made it to Canalave City. Barry leads with Staravia, and I decide to lead with Gyarados. I decide to use an Ice Beam after being hit with an Endeavor, and we take it out in 1 hit. Roselia comes out next, and we hit it with an Ice Beam, which does a good amount of damage. However, Gyarados gets hit with a Grass Knot, which takes us a little bit too low for comfort, so I decide to swap into Ediponyta to take another Grass Knot. Which means we can then use Flame Wheel on the next turn to take out the Roselia, and that draws out Weasel next. I swap into Sorin the Torterra to take out the Weasel with a Razor Leaf, and that means that Barry decides to send out Heracross next. So, I swap again into Wanderer the Crobat and hit them with a Fly, which ended up missing, and we use it again, and it missed again, and we tried for the 3rd time, and this time we finally hit him to take him out. That was so much more difficult than it needed to be. Barry then only has 1 Pokemon left, and that is his Monferno, so I decide to fly again, which hits first time, and we managed to take out the Monferno with no trouble. Thank you, Crobat, for finally not missing. So far, not having a great experience with this Pokemon. I can't lie. After that, we storm our way through the Canalave City Gym to take on Byron. He uses Bronzor, and we lead Gyarados. I'm noticing a theme here. We go for a Dragon Dance as Bronzor sets up a Trick Room, which is a little bit annoying considering I just made myself so much faster than I was already. And he then outspeeds and uses Confuse Ray. But even through confusion, we managed to use another Dragon Dance. I probably didn't need to do that, but it is fine. Bronzor then sets up a Sandstorm and we use another Dragon Dance to waste more Trick Room turns. And then we use Crunch and hit ourselves for loads of damage because of confusion, which is a little bit annoying. Also, it turns out I completely lied. I did actually heal 3 times in this run because I used a Super Potion here and I missed it. I then used Crunch to finally take out the Bronzor, which means Steelix comes out next and survives a Waterfall on 1 HP because of Sturdy. And we managed to flinch him so he can't actually attack, but he gets healed, so we take him back down to 1 HP again, and then he gets healed again, and we take it back to 1 HP again, but this time we finally managed to take him down on the turn after. This leaves only Bastiodon. I hit it with a Waterfall and we managed to flinch him, meaning he can't use Thunderbolt, and we managed to actually take it out. Now, that could have been really, really bad with both Steelix and Bastiodon having electric type moves, but flinches really, really saved the day there. We have a bunch of Team Galactus stuff to deal with now, and Saturn is the first big boss we need to take on. Now, they lead with a Kadabra and we lead, could you have guessed it, Gyarados. We take out the Kadabra with a Crunch, which then leads Saturn to send out Bronzor next, which we hit with another Crunch, and it does around half damage. Not quite as much as I would have hoped, but we get the defense drop anyway, and we then get hit with a Confuse Ray, which isn't very fun. I decide here to swap it to Crobat to hit a Bite, and we manage to get the flinch, which lets us take out the Bronzor with no trouble. And that means the Saturn only has their Toxicroak left, which I decide to use Fly on, and it manages to take it out in 1 hit, which is amazing. Just before fighting Mars again, our Ponyta evolves into a Rapidash, which is really cool, and we finally start the battle with Mars and see that she leads Golbat as we lead Gyarados again. Now, I accidentally clicked Dragon Dance here, which wasn't meant to happen, and I used Ice Beam afterwards, dealing half damage to Golbat, who then U-turns and switches into Purugly. We then hit the Purugly with a Waterfall, which manages to take it out in 1 hit, so maybe the Dragon Dance was worth it? And then when the Golbat comes back out, I decide to hit it with another Waterfall, which takes it out. She then sends in Bronzor, who we hit with a Crunch to take it out and win us the battle. Maybe Dragon's Dance actually does help. This means that we can start making our way up to Snowpoint City, which is the home of the next gym leader. But I don't really want to say a name though, because my comments are going to be full of it. On the way, we can find the soft sand item and the TM for Rock Climb, which is really cool, and we eventually make it up to Snowpoint. By the time I got to this point in the game, they had already patched out the bit where you can skip the entire puzzle, so I had to actually do the puzzle while trying to avoid as many trainers as possible. We eventually get it done and we start the battle. Candace leads Snova and we lead with Ed the Rapidash. We hit Snova with a Flame Wheel, which 1 hit KOs it. Sneasel comes in next and uses Dig, which means our Fire Blast actually missed. I really didn't want the Rapidash to get hit with a Dig, so I decided to swap out into Wanderer the Crobat, so Dig does absolutely nothing. I go to try and use a Cross Poison and we deal a lot of damage, but Sneasel retaliates with an Avalanche, which completely wipes out Crobat. We don't have time to grieve though, so I send in Ed back into the battle and Sneasel outspeeds and uses Dig again, which is getting a little bit annoying. I decided to swap in Gyarados this time to stop Dig from being able to do anything, and then take it out with a Waterfall on the next turn. Now, honestly, I probably could have done that before and saved Crobat, but he wasn't really doing much for us at all at this point, so it's not like the worst loss we could ever have. It still sucks though. Medicham comes out next and it hits us super hard with a Rock Slide, and I didn't do as much damage as I wanted to with an Ice Beam. I swapped to Soren on the next Rock Slide, but now I was going to use Ice Punch, so I have to swap out again to Ed. I hit Medicham with a Fire Blast, which takes it down to must be 1 HP, and it also burns, which is super lucky. We get taken down to super low health, but it doesn't matter. We survive and the hail stops just in time. We are now up against Candace's ace, Abomasnow. I think about it for a while and I decide to use Fire Blast and risk it, and we get so lucky and hit the Fire Blast, taking it out. This was a lot closer than it needed to be. We very nearly lost so many of our Pokemon, and I think that only losing Crobat there was probably the best case scenario. I then decided it was time to rebuild the team. Crobat was dead, and so far Machamp and Alakazam weren't really doing that much for me actually being on the team. Machamp's moves were quite bad and I didn't know how to save them, and I've never really used Alakazam in any battle at all except for the Maylene fight, so it was just kind of sitting there. I decided to replace Crobat's empty slot with a Snover. I went back to Wayward Cave to catch myself the guaranteed Gibble I could get because of Species Clause, and I grinded my way through Iron Island to get the Riolu Egg from Riley to replace Machamp. Now this did mean I had to fight Cyrus a little later with a team that wasn't really ready for him, but I went in and did it anyway. Cyrus leads with a Murkrow and we lead with our trusty Gyarados. I use Waterfall as Murkrow outspeeds and uses Taunt, and we take the Murkrow out pretty much straight away. Cyrus then sends in Golbat, who I hit with a Waterfall to take it to just over a third, and we take the Poison Fang really easily. We do get poisoned, but I'm hoping that's not too big of a deal, and we take out the Golbat with a Waterfall on the next turn. Sneasel comes out next, so I decide to swap into Rapidash, and we take a Metal Claw super easily on the switch in, and we recover most of it back with leftovers. I hit Sneasel with a strong Flame Wheel, which also burns, which is really cool, as we get hit with an Icy Wind, which does nothing but give us a speed drop basically, and we then don't outspeed this time, but we managed to take him out with another Flame Wheel. Now, considering I wasn't actually ready for this fight, it wasn't as bad as I remember it to be, and we didn't lose anyone, which is always good. I then decided it was probably the best time to end my stream so I can go and get all of these Pokemon leveled up and spend hours doing that and not bore everyone to death. So by the time the next stream started, all of my Pokemon were up to at least level 41, which is still a little bit lower than I would have wanted, but it's a lot better than like level 27 where my Pokemon were at before. And because just before that we had beat Cyrus, it was time to climb to the top of Mount Coronet for the next Cyrus fight and the chance to catch Dialga. Before we could fight Cyrus, we have a double battle with Barry against Mars and Jupiter. They lead with 2 Bronzor as Gyarados takes one of them down to the red straight away as they set up Light Screen and Reflect, which is a bit annoying, and Munchlax uses Bite on the same Bronzor I hit, meaning we actually managed to take it out. I then decided it was best to try and take out the Skuntank first before we kill Bronzor, so I hit it with a Waterfall, which does an okay amount of damage, as Skuntank only uses Flamethrower on Barry's Munchlax. We hit ourselves in confusion next turn, but they both only try and kill Munchlax and not me for some reason, so I'm happy with that. We managed to snap out of confusion the next turn to hit another Waterfall, which wasn't too strong, and we get poisoned by Poison Gas. I go for another Waterfall on the Skuntank, finally taking it out, leaving just Bronzor on the field as of right now, but it swiftly gets taken out by Munchlax's Bite. At this point, we need to swap out Tibex as both screens went down and Golbat and Purugly came out next. I decided to send in Swiss the Abomasnow for some reason. Not quite sure what I was thinking, but hey, I did it. Purugly uses Dig for some reason, and Munchlax does a lot to Golbat, which is really nice. We get hit hard with a Sludge Bomb after Munchlax goes down, and we take out the Golbat with an Ice Punch afterwards. I then decide to swap into Pig the Gabite, who instantly gets hit with a weak U-turn. Golbat uses U-turn again, bringing Purugly back out, so I decide to swap Gabite out and throw out Leia, our new Lucario, into the field to try and catch out the Purugly, who crit Body Slam kills Barry's Staraptor, meaning he brings out his Infinite now, who then revenge kills the Purugly with a close combat. Wow. Finally, out comes Golbat as I just mess around with my Pokemon while I wait for Barry to pretty much do everything. And after that, it means that we now need to fight Cyrus. Like this one battle wasn't annoying or stressful enough. Cyrus starts with a Honchkrow and we lead Tibex, and I decide to use Ice Beam. And that freezes Honchkrow from turn 1. Now this means that we can take it out with another Ice Beam the turn after, which is absolutely amazing. Cyrus then sends out his Gyarados, which I don't really have an answer for, so I decide to have a Gyarados versus Gyarados battle as I used Crunch, and so does he. I use Crunch again to get the defense drop, and he used Crunches again and doesn't get the defense drop. I hit Crunch for a third time with another defense drop, and he also uses Crunch and then uses a full restore on the next turn. My Crunch gets the defense drop again and does half damage to him, meaning that we take it out on the turn after. That was really dumb, and I hated it. Cyrus then sends out Crobat, but Gyarados is on low HP, so I want to swap him out here, and I decide to swap in Pig as Crobat only goes for Tailwind. The fastest Pokemon in the game used a move to make him faster. We then hit him with a Rock Slide, which really doesn't do as much damage as I wanted it to, and I decided to use another Rock Slide as this Crobat's Quick Claw activates. One of the fastest Pokemon in the game is obsessed with setting up Tailwind so it's faster, and then has a quick claw equipped. Why? I decide to send in a Bomber Snow here, who tanks an air cutter quite well, and Crobat uses Tailwind again so we can take it out with an Ice Punch. That Crobat is an idiot. I hate him. This only needs Cyrus with his Weavile, so I swap into Ed and he takes an Aerial Ace. Weavile uses Dig, so once again we have to swap into Gyarados thinking I have a cool plan, only to realize it was dumb straight away, so I don't do that. I swap Pokemon around for a bit until I have Sorin in there to finally hit with an Earthquake to take him down to the red, but because Sneasel doesn't have an Ice-type move, I stay in, tank an Aerial Ace, and hit it with another Earthquake, winning us the battle against Cyrus. I think we managed that one quite well. The Crobat was weird, the Gyarados was weird, but everything else I think we dealt with quite well. This then gives us the chance to try and fight Dialga. I just throw the Master Ball at it. I'm not messing around with that. This means that it was then time to fight the 8th gym leader. Now, I hadn't lost a Pokemon in a long time. I mean, well, except for Crobat, but before that, I hadn't lost anything since the 2nd gym. So I was feeling super confident going into this battle. I thought I had answers to every Pokemon Volkner could throw at us, but oh lord, did I not know what was going to happen once we got in there. Volkner leads with a Raichu, and this Raichu for some reason knows Surf. I guess to try and catch you out if you're using pure Rock or Ground types, so I send out Torterra to hit it with an Earthquake, which one hit KOs it through its special berry, so that didn't help it at all. Volkner then sends out Octillery, and me being really smart, I go for Razor Leaf, which doesn't kill it, but Octillery then uses Aurora Beam, which absolutely destroys me. My starter Pokemon got taken out in the final gym. I really thought we'd survive at least one Aurora Beam, but apparently not. We didn't have time to grieve or anything, so I had to send in a Bomber Snow next, who we could have swapped into from the start to take out the Octillery, which means that Volkner then sends out Ambipom. I wasn't feeling great at this point. Ambipom goes for a double hit and nearly kills Swiss straight after we lose our starter, which really isn't good. So we hit him hard with an Ice Punch, which doesn't kill, and now I feel super stuck. I swap into Ed, hoping he can do something, as he tanks a double hit with half HP left. Volkner uses a Hyper Potion because of the hail damage, and we miss our Fire Blast. This could not be going worse. I send out Leia on a Thunderbolt, which we tank quite well, and we fire off an Aura Sphere, which doesn't take it out, but we've been taking a lot of damage from Last Resort. I do decide to risk it though, and we survive and finally take out that stupid monkey. This leaves only Luxray left to take out now, and I swap Leia out for Pig as he goes for a Thunderfang, which does nothing. I click Earthquake, Luxray outspeeds and goes for an Ice Fang. We survive, but we get frozen. This is the worst thing that could have possibly happened. I do not see a way out of this battle without losing literally everyone. I thought the run was over here. I was ready to give up. I was going to throw, I was going to let all of my Pokemon die, and I was going to restart. I swap Pig out into Gyarados to take the Ice Fang, but now I'm stuck knowing Luxray is going to use Thunderfang next, and I don't want to lose Gyarados. I try and use Crunch, but Luxray outspeeds and kills us in just one Thunderfang. Torterra and now Gyarados. This wasn't looking good for us at all. I send in Ed, who outspeeds and misses his Fire Blast again, but he does survive and he hits the Fire Blast next turn, which doesn't kill, but does manage to burn. But then Ed goes down to a Thunderfang. We have 3 Pokemon left, all on around 30 HP. I send in Leia next, who somehow survives the Thunderfang and hits Luxray with an Aura Sphere just enough to make the Luxray die of burn. We've somehow won that battle, but we lost 3 of our longest standing team members in the process. This one really, really hurt. I didn't know what I was going to do at this point, but it was clear that we were in a dire need of a rebuild. I ended my stream and got to planning what I was going to do with the run moving forward. In the next stream, this is what the team looked like. We had a Floatzel, a Roserade, Lucario, Garchomp, a Mamoswine, who was one of my underground encounters, and a Magnezone, who was another one of my underground encounters, who I specifically saved for right before the Elite Four for this very reason, because knowing me, something was definitely going to go wrong. We luckily made it through all of Victory Road completely fine, and we only have one challenge left to face before we take on the Elite Four, and that was Barry. So far, every time we faced him, we've wiped the floor with him. Turns out this time was going to be just a little bit different. As always, Barry leads Staraptor, and we lead our brand new Magnezone. Now, Staraptor outspeeds and goes for close combat, which we survive on just half HP, and we fire back with a Thunderbolt, which takes it down to its Focus Sash. Knowing Magnezone probably can't survive another one, I sent out Mamoswine, who takes a lot of damage again from close combat, meaning I have to swap again, this time into Garchomp, who tanks the close combat a lot better than the rest of the team, and we can take out the Staraptor with a Dragon Claw. This already isn't looking very good. We've taken a lot of damage, and we've taken out one Pokemon. Barry then sends out Floatzel, so I swap back into Magnezone and then misclicked my move to hit it with a Flash Cannon instead of a Thunderbolt, which probably would have killed. I have to then swap out into Roserade to tank a Brine and then take it out with a Giga Drain. Because a Grass type was out on the field, Barry sends out his Infinite, so I send in Floatzel, and this is when I really wasn't happy with this battle. This was the first ever battle I was trying to use one of those damage calculator things that you see a bunch of people use for Nuzlocke like this, and I got told from that calculator that Floatzel outspeeds here, and as you can see from this clip, Floatzel does not outspeed here, meaning that website is a big stinky liar. Or, you know, it could have been user error. It's unclear to tell who is actually in the wrong here, but I'm blaming the website. But we still had an angry Infinite to deal with, so I sent out Garchomp and we go for an Earthquake, but we have to survive a close combat first, and we actually managed to take it down. Thank God. Barry then sends out Snorlax, and we swap into Leia and take it down with 2 Aura Spheres. I have been yawned though, so I do end up falling asleep as Roserade comes out, but somehow I missed that and attacked anyway, as Roserade used Grassy Terrain, and then Lucario shook itself awake. Okay. But that means I managed to take out the Roserade the next turn with a Psychic. This leaves only Heracross, where I use Psychic on him again, which does a good amount of damage as it only goes for Swords Dance, which means we can outspeed and we can take it out with another Psychic, winning us this battle. Now, unfortunately, that means we have to go and find yet another team member right before the Elite Four, and I'm running out of options. Initially, I thought Snorlax was going to be the replacement. However, with my limited amount of items and TMs that I would need to make him really good, I basically decided he wasn't going to be a great 6th member of the team, so I went out on one of the routes that I hadn't yet explored, and I found myself a Tentacool, who I had to grind all the way up to the level cap without over-leveling anyone else, and it was really fun, and I'm so glad I had to do that instead of just the perfectly good Floatzel I had sitting there just before. Anyway, after that was all done, it was finally time. The Elite Four run. I had no idea what I was doing, a team that I had just pulled together at the last minute because I was forced to, and a whole lot of dread. But still, I stepped forward through those doors, and there was no turning back now. The first Elite Four member was Aaron. He leads with the Dustox, and I send out Garchomp first. I use Flamethrower and take it down to 1/3 of his health as we get hit with a Toxic, which isn't something I wanted to happen, obviously. Luckily, another Flamethrower takes it out though, and Heracross comes out next, and this thing is seriously scary. I decide to stay in and go for a Flamethrower to see what I could do against it. However, it does outspeed me this time and uses Brick Break, and Flamethrower just barely doesn't kill. Garchomp decides that it doesn't want to be poisoned anymore and shakes off the poison, and Aaron goes for a full restore as another Flamethrower takes it straight back down to where it was before. And we manage to survive the facade and take it down with another Flamethrower. Thank God. This means that his biggest threat was completely gone. So I swap into Simp the Magnezone. I'm not sure why it's called Simp. My girlfriend named it, okay? I didn't do that. The Beautifly that comes out uses Bug Buzz as we switch in Magnezone, which we take really well, and we hit back super hard with the Thunderbolt, which takes it out in just one hit. Vespiquen comes out next, and there's really not a whole lot this Pokemon could do against us, and we managed to one-hit kill it again with another Thunderbolt. Turns out Simp is looking like a really good addition to the team so far, and that means as well that only Drapion is left. Sturdy unfortunately won't work right now since we're not at full health, and I don't trust that we can survive an Earthquake, so I decide to send in Mamoswine, who tanks the Earthquake really well, and we hit back with an Earthquake of our own after being hit fairly hard with a Night Slash, but we take it out and we win the battle. Next up we have Bertha, the ground type Elite Four member, but we actually planned for this one. Bertha leads with a Quagsire, and we send out Roserade. We use Giga Drain to one-hit KO the Quagsire straight away, which then sends in Whiscash, which knows Ice Beam. Now, this could be dangerous, but I go for a Giga Drain anyway, and we outspeed and manage to take it out in one hit. Super nice. Sudowoodo comes out next, and once again we used Giga Drain to take it out in one hit. Golem is next and lives a Giga Drain through Sturdy, and then they try and fight back with a Heavy Slam, but because Roserade loves me, that attack missed. And then we can take it out after a few more Giga Drains, leaving only Hippowdon left. We hit this thing with, would you have guessed it, another Giga Drain, which doesn't take it out, and instead of Ice Fang, it uses Earthquake, which we just barely survived, meaning we could take it out with another Giga Drain the turn after. I'm not sure why it went for Earthquake, but we did manage to win the battle, and we kept Rose Raid, which is good. It was then time to take on Flint. He leads with a Rapidash, and we lead with Tentacruel and go for Surf. But we get hit with a Hypnosis just before, which is really annoying. We then take a few Iron Tails while waiting for Tentacruel to wake up, and we take them quite well. Unfortunately, when Tentacruel does wake up, it doesn't take the Rapidash out, so after he full restores, we can hit him with another Surf, and then Rapidash misses its next Hypnosis, meaning we can finally take it out. Flint sends out Steelix next, which is exactly what I wanted, and we managed to hit it with a Surf, which doesn't kill, and Tentacruel gets taken out with a crit Thunderfang. Oh, I don't think that was part of my plan. At this point in the Elite Four, though, I don't think this is a super horrible loss, so I send in Mamoswine next as Flint uses a full restore, and we just take the Steelix down with 2 Earthquakes. Lopunny is out next, and I decide to send in Garchomp, but because Garchomp loves me so much, Lopunny actually misses the 2 high jump kicks, which means we could take it out in just one move. Drifblim comes out next, and this one doesn't actually have Aftermath, so I go straight for a Crunch after we get burnt, but because of that, we barely do any damage compared to what we should have been doing. We do get the defense drop though, and I decide to go for another attack as he just uses Minimize, but luckily this time we do manage to take it out with that 1 extra Crunch. We're still not in the clear yet though, because we still need to take out Flint's Infinite. Garchomp eats the close combat as we hit it with an Earthquake, which uses the Focus Sash that Infinite had equipped, and then we take another close combat down to 13 HP, and we hit the final Earthquake to win us the battle. Oh my god. I'm not sure how the runners made it this far, but it has, so we might be able to win. We've made it to the 4th and final Elite Four member, Lucian. He leads with a Mr. Mime as we lead Magnezone. Now, I decided to set up a light screen this time, even though I never mess with screens, and I think this really messed me up in this fight because I was trying to do too much. We exchange moves for a little while until eventually we take out the Mr. Mime, and then this leaves Lucian to bring out Medicham. I decided to leave Simp in here because I really don't think there's much that Medicham could do against me. We hit them with a Thunderbolt for a decent amount of damage, and High Jump Kick takes us out in 1 hit. Oh my god. I thought maybe we were a bit more tanky than that, but apparently not. I decided to send in Mamoswine and hit it with an Ice Fang, and then we get taken out again with another High Jump Kick. This isn't good. I send in Garchomp next, and Lucian full restores. I use Crunch for a good amount of damage, and I decide to test Dragon Claw, and that actually takes it out. Alakazam is up next, and I use Crunch to take it out in 1 hit. Girafarig comes out next and also takes a lot of damage from Crunch, but they do set up a Trick Room. We go for another Crunch as Lucian full restores, and we manage to get it back down to the red. We actually take the Future Sight attack, and we lose half of our HP. We get hit with a weak Psychic, but survive it, so we can take out the Girafarig with another Crunch. This means Lucian only has 1 Pokemon left now, and we're not looking too good. We have lost half of our team, and we don't really have anything to take out this Bronzong. I decide it's best to send in Leia, who takes so much damage from an Earthquake, but we avoid the second one and hit it with an Aura Sphere, which doesn't do as much as I wanted it to. We outspeed now because Trick Room went down, and Dragon Pulse, even with a crit, does really not a lot of damage, and I thought we'd get taken out, but we hang on because Lucario doesn't want to make me sad. We hit another Aura Sphere, and we finally get taken out. I thought we'd lost here. I send in Garchomp, and we hit a Flamethrower, which manages to take out Bronzong, but we had 2 Pokemon left going into the fight with Cynthia. This run was surely over. I had a hard enough time in the old games fighting Cynthia with a whole team of Pokemon while using items and revives and a team that I had been using the whole game and not all thrown together at the last second. How was I ever going to do this with just 2 Pokemon? Regardless of all of that, I walked into the champions room and we started the battle. Cynthia, as always, leads with Spiritomb, and I lead with Garchomp, mainly because I don't really have a choice. I decide to hit it with a Crunch as we take a Shadow Ball. I try Dragon Claw next, which is a lot more damage. Should have done that from the start, note to self. But we take another Shadow Ball, just barely, and we take it out with another Dragon Claw. But Garchomp is now on super low HP. Milotic comes out next, so I swap into Rose Raid, admitting defeat pretty much. But Rose Raid took the Ice Beam surprisingly well. I then outspeed and use Giga Drain, taking a bunch of Milotic's health, giving us enough health to survive another one. And I then use another Giga Drain, which actually takes the Milotic out. How are we doing this? 2 Pokemon down, 4 to go. Gastrodon comes out next and doesn't die to a Petal Blizzard, but only uses Rock Tomb. We take it out with another Petal Blizzard, leaving Cynthia with only 3 Pokemon left. This is where I decide to use a full restore on Pig. I want to see if my final Pokemon can take out the rest of Cynthia's team and win this run. So we sack Audio in the hopes that their sacrifice will mean that we can win this run. Audio goes down, Garchomp comes back out, and it was time to see what he could do. Cynthia sends in Rose Raid, and they hit us straight away with a Dazzling Gleam. We use Flamethrower, taking it down to half health, and it hits us with another Dazzling Gleam, which we survive, and we hit it with a Flamethrower, taking it out. We had 2 Pokemon left to take out, with only 1 HP left, and there's only so much dumb stuff we can get away with, and we finally get taken out, ending our Nuzlocke challenge at the champion. A 2 Pokemon Cynthia attempt, and we got down to Cynthia's final 2 Pokemon. I'm counting that as a win for my first ever Nuzlocke. Oh my god. If you enjoyed this run, I streamed the whole thing over on my Twitch channel, and I have been streaming my second attempt now too. So make sure you check that out if you're interested. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.